They say when we're unhappy, we can leave, we can accept, or we can change. I wasn't happy. In my community, I opted for change. Many people said, change the culture. Just change the culture. Isn't that the solution to every human-based problem out there? Just change the culture? Well, some things are easier said than done. Let's not put aside the fact that there have been tactics in play for decades to stigmatize all of North American culture against this. I'm talking about public transit. And we all know the importance of a good transit system in any community. But there's been a war against public transit for the past century. This is an actual ad that stigmatizes our public infrastructure for the profit and gain of single occupancy vehicles. Ads like this that slander families for making economically sound choices or environmental choices for their children's children. In our community, we're working to change this stigma and change this culture by inspiring and empowering youth to choose transit. Here's a fact I'm proud of. Ridership in the city of Kingston has increased by more than 87% since 2012, which is the highest ridership growth in the country. What's contributed to this achievement? Many things. A strong master plan, council support, express bus routes, a customer-centric strategy. But I'm here tonight to share with you a specific piece of the puzzle, which is how to change a car culture to a transit culture. My name is Dan Hendry. I don't work for the City of Kingston. I don't work for Kingston Transit. I actually work for Limestone District School Board, the public school board in Kingston, Ontario. Thanks, Mom. And I'm here to share with you a story of partnership and collaboration we do have with Kingston Transit and the success it's having for our students, our staff, and the community as a whole. Let me take you back a bit, though, to 2012, when the City of Kingston's council recognized the benefits of young people using public transportation, and they decided to allow grade 9s to ride for free. I worked for the city and the school board at the time, and I noticed the systems were slightly different. Students, when they wanted to get their free bus pass, they had to take their ID and itinerary to one of two locations the city set up, which made sense. The issue is that many students don't get their ID until November, and many of them, at the time, didn't regularly use public transportation. These seemingly small tasks proved to be large barriers to students without the freedom of mobility. And this got me thinking, when was the last time I changed my behavior? Or I excelled in something that someone didn't help or guide me with? Ultimately in life, we don't know what we don't know. And if nobody shows us, we won't know. And this was the start of the Kingston Transit Limestone District School Board Transit Orientation Project, which has become increasingly important to our secondary students. Basically, each year in September, I take a City of Kingston bus to every high school, and we teach students firsthand how to ride public transportation, as well as allowing them to get their bus pass that day. Nobody was teaching them how to use transit. Nobody was teaching them the social, environmental, health, or economic benefits. Nobody was teaching them, letting them meet the driver. Nobody was showing them how to stop or get on and off the bus. But most importantly, nobody was highlighting the freedom they would have. And this is why we take a City of Kingston bus to every high school, and we teach them firsthand about public transportation. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a bus. What would they be learning? I always start the students off in front of the bus. And I tell them the true story of when I had to use the bike rack. I actually had a popped tire. I got my bus pass in hand. I proceeded to get in front of the bus. I looked at the bike rack wondering what to do. With 40 people looking at me, cars going by, I was sweating, the bus operator unable to get off and assist. My helmet, of course, is flopping around. It was intimidating even as a 30-year-old. I now know it's a simple thing to do. You just put your bike on, you lock it in place. But without a simple and stress-free opportunity, many new riders just won't try. I've collected these stories from the questions students have asked me from over 250 presentations I've done on a moving bus. These stories I've collected, the anecdotes I tell the students now, they make them feel more comfortable on the bus. So here's another. Can you eat on the bus? Yeah, right? Coffee, tea, snack, one of those little bitty bags of chips that you get from Halloween. One time though, going through Queen's University in the morning, I saw a guy get on the bus with a bowl of cereal. like I mean a porcelain bowl of Lucky Charms. He was sitting beside me eating it with a metal spoon. But luckily, you know what I tell kids now? Don't eat your cereal on the bus. Be reasonable. We regard the ability to use public transportation as an essential life skill. And by providing them confidence through this experience, we're eliminating barriers, whether they be mental or physical, that might stop them from using transit. Now, every year since the initial cohort of just grade 9s, the next grade was allowed to ride for free. So since 2016, grades 9, 10, and 11, and 12 have rode for free in the city of Kingston. In that initial cohort, there are about 28,000 rides by grade 9 students, which I thought was amazing. Like, they're 14. Every year since 2016, we've had over 500,000 rides by high school students in our community. That's a lot of rides. We're not talking about special bus routes for students. We're talking about 500,000 more rides on our pre-existing infrastructure. Ultimately, the underlying philosophy of this program is, with a bus pass in hand, mastery of transit tools, understanding of the system, students will gain independence and confidence, and they'll use the bus now, locally, and in the future, no matter where their life might take them. In fact, this program has produced so much robust data that a student from the University of Waterloo, her name is Veronica Sullivan, was able to complete her master's thesis on it. And she found that grade 12 students use the transit pass 3 times more frequently than grade 9s. That shows as they become older, gain more confidence, they become more frequent transit users. Student feedback told us that it created more independence for them. They said that it got them to more things they wouldn't have had access to. Ultimately, the research study concluded that this transit pass program is an important stimulant for youth travel independence on transit, as well as it could be applied to other North American mid-sized municipalities. In 2018, the Transit Pass program won an award from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, or the FCM, at the Sustainable Communities Conference. It also won the inaugural Inspire Award for a project that best demonstrated creativity and innovation, as decided by a live vote of delegates at the conference. In the months following that conference, we received over 40 inquiries from communities across Canada. And knowing there was interest, we teamed up with the FCM to produce a guidebook for other communities on how to inspire youth with a city-school partnership. And this guidebook is available in both French and English on the FCM's website. Now, another part of this youth-focused story is what the high school transit pass program actually did to our fare structure. Realizing minimal revenue from ages 0 to 14, Kingston Transit decided to allow 14 under to ride for free to try to encourage young families to choose transit. But this also allowed for the creation of our next successful project, the Teacher Field Trip Pass. This pass is available from kindergarten to grade 12. It lets classes use transit during the day for field trips. The purpose of this program is to reduce the cost of field trips, encourage experiential learning. Look at them. Keep in mind, there were very few field trips before this program started. In its first year, there were 600 field trips on public transportation. And last year, there were 900 field trips on our transportation system. It's pretty amazing. So with that being said, the purpose of this is really to open up the community for our students, as usually one of the most expensive parts of a field trip is the cost of the yellow bus. The field trip pass gets students to libraries, parks, sports and recreation. It gets them to farmers markets. It gets them to museums, the theater, and countless other community resources. Now, our community has been unique by providing high school students with free access to transportation as well as a student field trip pass. But the explicit need for orientation is applicable for all students. Transit is a skill set that requires confidence, understanding, and responsibility. And this all starts when someone takes the time to show them. A student engagement program coupled with free passes has gotten our students to work volunteering, extracurricular activities, dual credits, sports and recreation. It's also fostered independence and responsibility and removed barriers for many students. In Kingston, 33% of our greenhouse gas emissions come from transportation. And we know that 71% of these commuters are driving to work alone. These programs are helping alter these numbers. One city councillor said that on his time on council, these were the biggest single initiatives he's contributed to in regards to social equity. These types of programs have helped increase our public ridership by 87% since 2012. They don't require significantly more amounts of money or more technology. They require strong partnerships, willingness to work with your school boards and students. I believe programs like these that help kids could have a huge effect on reducing greenhouse gases in North America. And though our communities are different, I believe the essence of these programs could be adapted to your communities. And I challenge you. I challenge you to use this information. Use me. Take it to your city council and ask them to invest in public infrastructure, invest in today's youth, and invest in smarter, more livable cities. Thank you.